Hey, welcome back to the channel. I'm Tony. This is Tony's Tractor Adventure, and today we're going to talk about the Baumalight. This is the 3P24 stump grinder, and I'm going to tell you how to use it. I'm going to tell you some tricks that I've learned over the last couple of years of owning this thing. I'm going to tell you all the maintenance issues that I've had with it. I'm going to tell you the things I like and I don't like about it. And the don't like list, it's going to be short. Let's get to it. All right, let's walk around this stump grinder. This is the Baumalight 3P24, and this is a articulating stump grinder. And all it means is that it rotates back and forth on these two hinges. There's a hinge right here and a hinge right here. And so the hinge makes it so that you can just back straight up to the stump and go back and forth, where the other kind that mounts to the 3-point hitch that you have to use the forward and reverse momentum of the tractor, they work really well. But they're not as accurate, and you can control the feed of this a little bit more precisely. So another feature is that the top cylinder here, you set this unit on the ground, the cleats go into the dirt, holds the stump grinder into place, and obviously the articulation portion here, which goes left and right, controls the feed or cut as it comes across its cutting. And then this top cylinder, you can control the depth of the cut. So I think ideally you want to cut somewhere along the lines of about an inch or 2 inches at a time. And my gizmo dog stepped right in front of me and sit down. I almost stepped over you, Bob. Puppy dog. So the trick to this, and we'll use this stump as an example right here. You want to start on the lead edge and cut your way back. And then when you get this whole level cut down, you'll come forward and start again and keep throwing this thing back. Now, I am going to tell you right now, this big, heavy protection shield doohickey, that's the official terminology, protection shield doohickey. I understand its purpose. If you're in around houses and stuff like that, around people, then by all means, you would probably want to keep that on. But what happens is the spoils of the cutter sometimes build up and kind of get in the way. So what I do is I take this big heavy thing. We're in the middle of the woods. It doesn't matter. I take this big heavy thing and rotate it back like this. You can see, I'll rotate it back like that. And then what it does is instead of having a big pile of spoils right here, it throws them all out into the woods, which, makes a less cleanup afterwards. All right, as you can see right here, there's a little deadness, but the majority of this stump is still solid. This is red oak, so this is not a pushover stump. It's not an easy stump. I'm showing you guys, a hard one. So my setup today is obviously the stump grinder that we're talking about, and then I have the TYM T474 tractor. This is a 48 horsepower tractor. And there's some, over the years, the horsepower of the PTO has changed back and forth. I think when I got this one, this is over 6 years old. I think it was like 37 PTO horsepower. Never really put that to a test. Never put it on a dynometer, but I think it's probably about accurate. It's 48 horsepower, 37, 38 horsepower. Some people say up to 42 horsepower at the PTO. I don't know. It just works perfect for this setup. And then I have the Easton-made grapple that we're testing right now. This is a heavy grapple. Guys, if you don't have a 50 horsepower tractor above, this one's not for you. If you have a 50 horsepower tractor above or skid steer, this is probably for you. This is probably the best built grapple that's on the market. All right, I'm going to talk a little bit about the questions I've gotten asked Most of these are from new tractor owners, and so I don't take these as being negative or being condescending, because if you don't know, you don't know. And if you're a first-time tractor owner, why would you know? All right, one thing I get asked, probably the number one question, is how does this do against rocks? Well, this probably sounds a little condescending, but it's the same question I get with the mulcher, the stump grinder, and flail mowers and rotary cutters. Well, what happened if I hit rocks? And my answer is pretty much universal. I don't recommend mulching rocks. I don't recommend flail mowing rocks or rotary cutting rocks, or I don't recommend stump grinding rocks. So this stump grinder has carbide cutters. It's going to hold up to it. It's going to bust the rocks up. It's going to knock them out of the way. However, if you have a stump grinder and you are in a rocky area, you will have a lot more teeth change than I will. So we've got 2 years on this, and these are carbide cutters. And they cut metal with carbide cutters. These hold up really well. However, if you're in a high rock environment, you're going to change them out considerably faster than I do. Also, if you on your flail mowers, if you want smooth cuts, you don't mow rocks. It's just bad. If there's information that you want that I'm missing, please, by all means, leave it in the comment section. So another question I get is, how much horsepower does this stump grinder require? Now, I'm not going to tell you based upon what the manufacturer says. I'm going to tell you some real world, like common sense stuff. This gearbox is rated at like 150 horsepower. So pretty much any homesteader is not going to have anything that, any kind of tractor that's going to cause any damage to this gearbox. Now, let's move up to the reason that I say this will go all the way down to, let's say, a 24 horsepower diesel tractor. With this valve, it's a flow valve. It controls the flow. If you take and reduce the flow, the articulation goes slower, so you don't burn through your horsepower too fast. If you go really fast, you're going to slow the engine down, and you're going to lose RPMs, and you're going to get out of your torque band. Each engine has a certain torque band. It makes the most torque at a certain RPM. So that's what you're looking for. You want to keep it in that high torque band to keep this thing grinding away. Next thing we're going to talk about, what about problems? Guys, I ain't had no problems with it. I have abused this. I keep it up under the barn. I keep it serviced. I keep the oils checked. I service it each year. I have had 0 issues out of this. I have no reason to think that I will have any issues out of this. It's built extremely heavy and reliable. Things that I don't like. Honestly, I just don't know that I could make it any better. I don't know that it can be made any better. You have to stay within the limitations of the stump grinder, the height that it can go to. Like, obviously, you don't want to, you can grind off stumps this high, but that's just a lot of extra time. It would be so much easier to just whip this off with a chainsaw, and that's what I did here. I have tackled some pretty tall stumps that were probably a little bit rotten, and that's okay because you just blow right through those. But if you're going to go into a real stump like this with, and you're going to have that stump, say 12, 13 inches off the ground, it's going to take a considerable amount more time. All right, the next thing is why a stump grinder and why not a backhoe digging the stump up? Well, in this particular case here, I don't need it. I don't need this land. I just, I'm putting the driveway through here. So it's not going to be anything built here. I just don't want the stump sticking up. So that's like, when I mow through here, I want it to be really, easy to mow and maintain. So that's where you're going to use this. If you're going to build in a location, you're going to need to dig those stumps up and repack the ground and go through all that. That's not what this is a replacement for. So you can go about 6 inches under ground level, and that's generally enough in most climates that you can put dirt over the top of that, put some grass seed, and it'll grow. The best way to set up your cut is to take your cutter head and go to the center of the stump, and then you're going to take this is how you start it. You're going to drop your head down till it touches. You just want it to barely touch. Right there. Now I'm going to take it back over to its start position for the cut, and then I'm probably going to drop it just a tad more for that first cut. This unit turns at 540 RPMs, so the next thing we're going to do is rev it up halfway, start the PTO. All right, that's 540. That was my first cut, a little light. Went down about an inch and a half. That's what I'm talking about with the guard up. It lets the roughage, as you will, all the wood chips, it lets it throw away, and you're able to see what you're doing. With that cover down, you can't see. Took a pretty good cut right there, but again, with the horsepower that I have right now, I had no problem with it. Pretty good size cut. I'll go slow. That wasn't the biggest cut as I thought. A lot of dirt. Nice cut right there. A little too much. Always make a full sweep. That way if you have any roots on the outside, you get them. Alright, now we're going to go ahead and raise this up. Pick the 3-point hitch up. Move back just a little bit. Got my brake on. Alright, now I'm going to start all over again. This time the PTO is already running. I'm going to raise it up, rotate around, touch off. It's very similar to what you would be doing with a metal lathe. You call it a touch off. All right, there's my touch off. That's probably about a 2-inch cut. Let her fly. Nice little dig right there. Yeah, that was a nice little dig. We're getting through the other side of the stump and getting down to more dirt. A little deep there, went a little aggressive. Okay, let's talk about some of the tricks of the trade. I think that one of the things that is very important is the time that you do it. Whether you're going to do the tree saw, the mulcher, or this stump grinder, I think a wet is better. And the reason I say that is for dust. Obviously, if you're in an open station tractor, then the dust, will just swarm you, and you're going to either wear a mask, respirator, or blow mud boogers out later on that day. It's up to you. I generally do the mud booger route. However, is that TMI? Anyway, dampness is your friend in this because you don't have all the dust throwing it up. And even if you have a cab, some people say, well, I wouldn't do this without a cab. Well, that's fine. I get it. But even with the cab, what happens is I used the 5520 with a tree saw, and it was dusty outside. And it threw dust everywhere, and it got all over the glass. And then the sun's coming through the glass. I couldn't see anything anyway. So I ended up having to stop, get off the tractor, clean the glass off, and just a few seconds later, it's right back to where it was. So a moist day is your tree saw, stump grinder, and mulcher's friend. I promise you that. I truly enjoy. It's an enjoyment to use them. So I think I've covered most of the basics, the things that you really need to know. You just gotta take the stump a little at a time. You can't just power through it. This is not a $400,000 stump grinder. This is a tractor, your little farm tractor, and a stump grinder that goes on a 3-point hitch. It's perfectly adequate, but for all of the pros out there that are like, oh, that's too slow. They have spent so much money on their equipment. Their equipment has to make tons of money and go really, really fast. That's like not most of us homesteaders and reasonable sized landowners. We don't do that. However, if you're going to use this for a business, I'm telling you, it is a decent way to do business because you can get this tractor into places that you're not going to get in with, say, a skid steer without tearing the yards completely up. The footprint on the tractor will be a lot nicer to your customers' yards if you're going to use this. So I hope this was helpful. Again, if I didn't answer any of the questions or you have a question that I overlooked, please, by all means, leave it in the comment section below, and I will do my very level best to answer that question. Listen, I appreciate you watching our channel so much. Sorry that we've been away for a while, had some illness in the family, had to deal with. God bless. Have a great day.